Mr. Eric Weaver, welcome to the National Critics' Choice, and thank you for sharing your thoughts about your institution and the creative uh, future of France. Tell us, 3 points, of how one could aspire to be an animator, and what your academy could provide.
Well, first of all, I want to mention the fact that France is number third producer of animation in the world after Japan and the US, number one in Europe. So France has been a major player for a number of years. One of the reasons why France is able to play that role is because of the quality of animation education in France. And Gobelin was the first leading school to offer such a possibility, starting back in 1975. And in the early 80s, when France really developed for the first time its animation industry on a large scale, under government approval, it was Gobelin that was standing by to provide the talent for this emerging market for animation creation. So that is an important point. Gobelin has long been the leading animation school in France for reasons that are, one, linked to the fact that French artists have a visual flair, and when it's applied to animation, the result is really dazzling on occasion. And secondly, Gobelin is a school in which there's a close link to the professional world. The teaching is done by professional animators who are working on current production. So the students are constantly in contact with what is really going on in the world. They're establishing a network of professional contacts which will help them get gainful employment in that field after the graduation. Gobelin films have won prizes around the world in festivals. We've even had a film nominated for an Oscar in Hollywood alongside studio productions such as Sony and Pixar. So our reputation is quite strong. We organize master classes around the world, particularly in Asia though, including Singapore, China, Taiwan, Malaysia. So those are the 3 points I wish to establish.
How can Asia and developing emerging economies such as Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, able to enhance creativity, because there is a lack of understanding what creativity is all about. How does one be creative and be as good as those who are in France, in the United States and Europe?
Well, this is a very tricky question and a delicate one to answer, because I'm convinced that creativity is not the monopoly of either the French or the Americans or Europeans. Creativity exists in people around the world. It is true that there are certain education systems which does not nurture that creativity. And it has been said in certain Asian countries that the educational model hampers the creativity of students because of the teacher-student relationship, where the students must simply receive the knowledge from the teacher. In our model in France and other places as well, it's a question of accompanying, nurturing talent, and encouraging the creativity which exists in young people. If you take a group of young children and you give them a certain activity, you will see how creative they can be. Creativity is not a question of learning to be creative. It's a question of having the conditions that will let you express your creativity. It needs a culture that will give a certain value to creativity and encourage it. Quite often, I think the problem in Asia is that parents are worried about students choosing a creative path in their careers. And so there is not encouragement for that creativity. That is the problem. It's not a question of does the creativity exist, because you cannot teach creativity. You can simply provide the conditions to encourage it, enhance it, nurture it, cultivate it.
So what is creativity actually, by definition? Is it something that is born or cultivated in the individual, or is it something that has been exposed and taught?
Well, the question is, what is creativity? Creativity is a question of bringing together certain elements, whether they're visual, musical, linguistic, whatever, and putting them together in a novel new, innovative way that will appeal to an audience, attract the attention. That's what it is. It's a question of innovation. And that's what is needed to encourage people to think in new ways. There's a very famous American poet of the 20th century who lived in Europe, Ezra Pound, and as he said, a very important motto, make it new. Make it new. Come up with a fresh idea. That's what creativity is about. A freshness in your way of visualizing, seeing the world, and coming up with a form of expression for the way that you see the world. That's what creativity is about.
Mr. Eric, tell us about Goblin's plans for the next 5 years, and do you think that they have plans to establish more awareness and more master classes here in Asia, including Singapore?
Indeed. Our main strategy for the 5 years to come is to enhance even more so the international dimension of our course. We would like to attract more international students to Gobelin. Courses are in French, but we have inaugurated a summer school in Paris in English to attract people to an intensive course in animation, give them the desire to return to Gobelin, and be motivated enough to learn French to come to our full-time courses. And we've also set up recently a summer school in Hong Kong in August for the Asian public. And we do master classes around Asia. We've done some in Singapore already, both at the Nanyang Technological University, NTU, but also for a small studio and school called Tiny Island CG Protégé with the support of the WDA in Singapore. And we look forward to doing some more of those classes in 2012 and in 2013.
Is there a website or a Facebook account which our audience could check out?
It is the Gobelin website, which is www.gobelin, GOBELINS.fr for France. Vive la France and vive Singapore.
Yes, and thank you so much, Mr. Eric River, and once again, our viewers of the National Critics' Choice and the Policymaker will like to see more of the progress in the coming future.
Thank you very much.